Hello and welcome back to the Kid Stays in the Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cooper, and joining me today is...
Skystorm Cooper.
Skystorm. See, you thought of one. There you go. Didn't think you were going to. So,
No, I had to.
Joined by Solomon Cooper, and we are actually going to be putting a temporary pause, just a really quick pause on our Lord of the Rings discussion, because there was a movie that we forgot about that was coming out in between, and that was the new Predator movie.
Yeah.
Prey, which Hulu specifically wanted to use as their baby for
their baby.
Yeah, they wanted to be like their Hulu baby.
That's
It was
weird.
It was supposed to be like their flagship blockbuster movie that was only on Hulu. There's a fly buzzing around if you can't see, and it's driving me insane.
I've been following it like a dog with my eyes.
So anyway, Hulu didn't want to release it at the theater at all, because you know how they've been releasing a lot of these movies on theater and on HBO Max, on theaters and on Disney Plus. So you know what I mean? So it would make sense. I would have loved to see this movie at the theater.
Of course.
But Hulu, like I said, they wanted this to be their blockbuster to show that you could get a movie theater quality film on Hulu.
Yeah.
So it dropped on Hulu, and I am not going to lie, I was so excited about it. I watched it like when it dropped at midnight on technically Thursday, or technically it was Friday, but early Friday morning.
Nice. I just feel kind of hurt that you didn't even rate my name at all. You're just like, oh, you thought of one.
I thought it was good. I said it was good.
You just said, see, you thought of one. Why'd you think it was good?
Oh, I thought it was... The reason I didn't want to say it was too good is because it felt a little bit like you were doing some cultural appropriation.
Bro.
So I think this fly is going to make me go insane. It's kind of appropriate, though. You know, because those people in the movie are all outside, and that's where flies belong.
Okay.
So yeah, Prey. This will be a quick episode, not because the movie isn't, worth watching, but just because it's a Predator movie. And what the director is Dan Trachtenberg. He's mostly, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He's known mostly for directing 10 Cloverfield Lane and some episodes of TV shows like The Boys. And this actually kind of reminds me of 10 Cloverfield Lane in that he just takes a really simple premise and then just ratchets up the tension. Yep. Like, do you remember 10 Cloverfield Lane at all?
That's the one with that where she it starts off with her going to the gas station and then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah, and then he's keeping her in a bunker, but he's saying it's because aliens attacked, but everyone thinks he's just crazy.
But aliens did attack.
But yeah, when she escapes at the end, it is like the post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
I mean, he also was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess before we talk about Prey, we have to do our classic bit of pre-movie discussion. And ask
always
you
the pre-movie discussion.
Ask you what.
This is the opposite.
What's your
this movie?
What's your history with Predator? You can't talk about the fourth entry in a Predator series. More, fifth entry,
Dude.
Seventh if you count, eighth if you count Alien versus Predators.
You're saying there's too many of these movies, then?
So, what's your history with this franchise? Have you seen the original Predator?
No.
Okay.
I have not seen the original one. I've only seen one other one besides this one.
Which one is that?
The 2018 one.
The 2018 one.
I have it pulled up.
Oh, Shane Black's Predators. Is it called Predators or just The Predator?
The Predator.
Yeah, so I remember I knew it was a bad movie when we saw it. It wasn't good. But I remember us thinking it was fun, but I've never watched it again. And now I have no problem just disowning it completely.
But Jacob Tremblay's in it.
Jacob Tremblay's in it.
I have the rest of
Tremblay. Who's the guy who's the main person?
Boyd.
Yeah.
Boyd Holbrook.
Oh, it's Boyd Holbrook?
I mean, that's what it seems like. He's in the top of this list.
What's his name?
His character name?
Yeah.
Quinn McKenna. Yeah, because
yep, that's him.
Because Jacob Tremblay's is Roy McKenna.
So Boyd Holbrook is actually in the new Sandman show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
That's
really
cool.
good.
It's very cool.
Yeah, we should watch that.
But yeah, that's the only Predator movie I've seen. I mean, I've seen clips of The original one.
Have you seen
That's
any?
with Schwarzenegger, right?
The original one is Schwarzenegger. Yes, it is.
Okay. Just making sure. Just confirming.
Embarrassing.
No, just need to confirm.
But you shouldn't have done it on the air. Now everyone thinks you're an imbecile.
No, I was just confirming because I didn't want to embarrass myself any further.
So, and then the second one is Danny Glover, and so the first one's in the jungle, right? With the one with Arnold.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's in the. I'm asking rhetorically. I'm just asking for an acknowledgement. So the first one's in the jungle, right?
Yes.
And the second one, I think the big log line for it or whatever was like, now it's the concrete jungle, and it takes place like in
the city,
the inner city. Yeah. A lot of people have a soft spot for that movie. I am not one of them.
The second one.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to watch it when I was a kid. I didn't watch it at all till I was an adult. So same thing with the original Predator, but the original Predator I would catch on TV all the time. It would be on cable. So when I was a kid, I feel like I grew up just always having seen it, whereas I never saw the second movie until I was a fully grown adult. And when I didn't particularly like it. I thought it was pretty cheesy. It's okay to if it's a fun movie if you take it as a cheesy, corny movie, but it's not really what Predator, the first Predator, is. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the second movie is almost, you have to take it as a comedy.
Really?
Like it's so over the top.
And the first one's very, very serious.
I mean, it's a 90s action movie, so I'm not saying it's like high art or anything. Are you getting distracted by the fly?
He's crawling towards me.
Well, just leave him alone. At least he's not flying around. Let him crawl all he wants to.
That is gross.
He's not going to fly into your mouth.
He could. I've seen it happen before.
So, yeah, the second movie it's really campy, let's just say. And like, campy, like maybe like the original RoboCop almost, but without the clever satire.
Yes.
You're so distracted by the fly, you're not responding properly. You're not responding in a way that makes any sense.
Yes, I did. You're talking about how
You said yes.
it's not.
I didn't ask you a yes or no question. I said, "What's your favorite kind of popcorn?"
That is not what he said ever. I would have been listening.
The third Predator movie was made way later. Has a fantastic cast. It is.
I'm so sorry. I'm appalled. I've never seen a fly this close before.
You're gonna make me commit homicide.
Homicide. I'm gonna commit homicide against this fly. Okay, continue.
No one wants to hear us sit here and talk about a fly for like the next 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I don't want to keep watching you look at a fly for the next 30 minutes either. It's so irritating and distracting.
This podcast should be called "The Fly Stays in the Podcast."
It would be amazing if we were actually talking about the fly. That would be perfect.
Well, that would.
If I see you look at the fly again, you're gonna lose both of your eyes.
It's bothering me.
I'm gonna have to. But him flying around is also distract. He just landed on you. It's really funny. He's on your head.
Is he really?
Yes, it's hilarious. And that's what you get for being a douche. Anyway, the third Predator movie is a great cast. It's Adrian Brody, Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
What do I know her from?
Her.
That's a man.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay.
Yes, it's a man.
Okay, from what?
Morpheus.
Okay.
You don't know who Morpheus is?
Oh. Yes, I do.
What is happening to you right now?
This fly is eating my brain.
It's crawling all around on top of your head, and don't worry about it.
What?
I started laughing at my own laugh because it sounded so stupid. The fly just crawled off of your headphones and onto your actual hair. So it's really fun. No, he's back there. He likes it up there.
Okay, just continue talking.
So well, I said Morpheus, and then you're like, who's a Morpheus? I don't understand.
Yes, because I thought you meant Morbius, and I was like, that doesn't sound right.
What? Why would you think I meant Morbius?
I don't know.
So, yeah, Lawrence and Topher Grace from that 70s show. Main guy.
Oh, the main guy. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and there's more people than that. I just can't remember all of them. So, stacked cast, but it suffers from a problem that a lot of these Predator and Alien versus Predator movies have. Alien vs. Predator should never exist. We'll get into that in a little bit. But these Predator movies, Predator in general, because it's such an iconic alien and it's the first movie is very iconic, it seems like in the collective consciousness, people have put more seriousness on it than was originally there. It's supposed to be a fun, over-the-top action movie. It's a very stripped bare premise.
Of course.
Right? And instead, they tried to make it into this big bloated epic. And you see this a lot with movies that were, and Shane Black's tried to make it funnier, but he still did the same thing, right? He tried to make it too big. There's a big giant alien predator. You know what I mean?
I did not remember how giant is he?
There was a giant one.
Oh.
Yeah, they introduce a giant one that gets loose, and then there's another predator that's helping them because they're having an interspecies war in the predator planet or whatever.
Yeah.
There's like a whole group of scientists that are doing experiments on predators to try and take their technology. Like, it's just too much.
Sounds confusing.
Yeah, and the Adrian Brody one, they had a simple premise, which was everybody wakes up in the jungle, and then you find out that the predators actually have a game preserve. So they're not on Earth at all. They're on an alien planet. And the predators are dropping predators of all different species in here for them to hunt. So it's a little bit too long. It's a little bit too self-serious. I think it's really underrated, though. I think it's a really fun Predator movie.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, but because of the budget, what I would have liked is there to be crazy, like Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as like
Guardians of the Galaxy,
as far as weird alien species, right? Like, there's one part where you do see them hunting another alien, and he like can camouflage himself as a tree or something, and then he gets killed, and it's really fast. You're like, oh, that's so awesome. We're going to see them hunting all these different aliens, and they're going to have to work with these different aliens to stay alive. But that's it. You don't see any.
You don't see any of that?
Nope.
Well, that's sad.
And then, you never seen any Alien versus Predator movies? I mean, it's good. It's good that you haven't, but it's just surprising.
I don't think so.
Shockingly, the first one is the best one, even though it has two huge strikes against it, like so huge that the movie's dead in the water before it gets started.
Oh my God.
One, it's directed by the bad Paul Anderson.
The bad Paul Anderson.
Yeah, there's one that wins all the Academy Awards, and there's one who directs Resident Evil movies. He did direct that movie that we both liked recently, though, Monster Hunter. Remember that movie?
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it was based on the video game called Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah. I could completely. That movie is so.
I think that fly did eat your brain.
No, this movie did not sound familiar at all.
Does it sound familiar now?
Yes, I understand what you're talking about.
How does it not sound familiar? You played that game for a bazillion hours.
A bazillion hours?
Enough hours that it should not sound familiar at all.
Well, you're talking about movies, so...
You also said Morpheus didn't sound familiar at all.
Like I said, I thought you meant Morbius.
Okay, gosh.
And I had to comprehend who Morpheus was.
This is like doing a podcast at a, facility for special people.
Okay.
Anyway, he did his Alien movie, Alien vs Predator movie. At least it looks good, but it's rated PG-13 and it's directed by one of the hackiest of hack directors in the world. And so
ruined.
Yeah, so that kills it. They decided they were going to go back to
the jungle
basics, you should say, quote unquote, with the next Alien vs Predator movie, and make it just stripped down about violence, definitely be rated R. They were all about, it's going to be so rated R. And it was, and it looked like absolute crap. It was the worst thing ever. Because one thing you can do is a cheap, stripped down, low budget Predator movie. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do a cheap, low budget Aliens movie. You know what I mean? And the movie took place in this it's a terrible movie. It has the worst special effects, the worst fight scenes, even the gore, it doesn't matter because they use fake blood for a lot of it, like CGI blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place in a rural farming town in Nebraska. So haven't you always wanted to watch an alien walk around Nebraska?
That sounds so bizarre. Also,
it's so dumb.
Out of curiosity, who wins? Because I feel like it makes the most sense to me that Predator wins.
I think the tagline for the first Alien vs Predator says it best. Whoever wins, we lose. And we all did.
That's really ironic.
Yeah, I think in the first Alien vs Predator movie, the Predator teams up with the Predator teams up with my friends. The Predator teams up with the humans.
Oh.
And they say that line, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend," so many times that you can tell that they all thought it was really profound and nobody had ever said that before.
Ever heard it in their lives?
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll actually be getting into the meat and potatoes of Prey.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Kid Stays in the podcast and our actual discussion of Prey.
Yes. So now that we've gone all the way through our history, which is
Talking all around.
mostly, I think it's important to give context here. We're not just we're just coming into this podcast to do beat by beat descriptions of a movie.
That's not what the movie did.
That's not the point.
The
That's
movie
what the podcast did.
The movie went straight on in it. Just it dived right in
Yeah.
and got us started.
Well, I think it's important for people to know who they're listening to, and if they're listening to some dinkle dingus like you who's never seen a single Predator movie.
I have two. So the one before this.
The one that everyone considers the worst one.
That's not my fault.
Could have always gone and watched the original.
When would I have done that?
Anyway.
When would I have had time in my busy, busy life?
Yeah, exactly. When in the age when you have every movie ever created at your fingertips, could you possibly have found time to watch Predator?
Sounds impossible.
So why don't you, since I've been blabbering a lot because I had to
agree.
talk about the entire premise of our history of the Predator franchise, why don't you tell us what is the hook to this movie? Why don't you just give us a plot synopsis, and a plot synopsis along with, well, the plot synopsis will cover this, but maybe a plot synopsis and let us know what is the hook for this Predator movie. Sorry, the fly just buzzed back into my face.
What's the hook for this?
Yeah, like
Predator
what's
movie?
the gimmick? There's a gimmick here. It's a great gimmick. I think it works. But there's a gimmick here.
So this movie is set in the 1700s
Yes.
in America. So our main character, I don't know what her character name is. Her last name is Mid-Thunder, right?
Yeah, it's Amber Midthunder. And her character's name is Naru.
Oh, that's a cool name. Our main character, Naru, is a Native American.
Comanche. Be specific.
Didn't know that.
Don't just lump people all together.
Do you really want to go there, Father? Oh.
Anyway, so Comanche.
Is a Comanche. And they are hunting. And then they meet the predator, I guess.
You're like smacking. And it's grossing me out. Ugh, so gross. Have you heard of drinking the water?
It's not my fault that
It sounds like you ate the Sahara Desert right before you came in here. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you made that more confusing than it needed to be. Basically, it's just Predator, but set in the 1700s, and instead of fighting the U.S. military, they're fighting the group of indigenous U.S. peoples, and in this case, the Comanche.
Yes.
So, and then on top of that, you have that it's one girl who's trying to prove herself that she can be one of the hunters in a group when that's not what women do. So you also have some classic sexism, rolled in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, this movie,
classic sexism,
yeah,
rolled on in there.
But this movie gets directly to the point, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was talking about. They just introduce you to the character, the two main characters, and then you are watching the movie from then on.
Yeah. So, what did you think about the film's decision to use a completely unknown cast, and then the cast of the majority of the cast is all Native Americans, and set it in the 1700s? What did you think about that decision in general? Because there's not a single recognizable face in this movie.
I thought that was perfectly fine. I don't need some all-stars playing the roles as long as the actors are good, and they did an excellent job. And didn't they get like real
Real what? Real trees?
No, like real like Comanches.
Yeah, they got actual Native Americans. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Play the parts.
Yeah. Did you say that?
Yes, I did. Just now.
Okay. Well.
And you should be able to tell their names are Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers.
Dakota Beavers does not sound like
Stormy Kip.
Are you serious?
Michelle Thrush.
Stormy Kip.
Julian Black Antelope.
Okay.
Have I made my point?
I didn't know that that's what their names were like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it works really well. And I thought it was really cool because they also have dirty Frenchies coming in and trying to murder all the Native Americans.
That was really confusing. How you said that. You just all of a sudden said some like what sounded like a almost racial slur with no context.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a group of, and you're so excited when they get introduced. There's a big group of French fur traders, like trappers,
Yeah.
and hunters. And I was so happy when you first see them because you know they're going to be douchebags. You already saw where they had like slaughtered an entire field of buffalo and just left all the meat and just taken their hides.
Yep.
And so you know they're going to be douchebags already. And I'm acting like I have no vocabulary. I can only say one insult.
Yeah.
You know they're going to be what is I was going to say something else and I can't think of it. I can't think of the word. Anyway, you know that as soon as you meet them, and then when you realize that they're French fur traders and they're all speaking French, it just, no offense to our millions and millions of French listeners, but the French are, have a little bit of a reputation of being snobby and, poo-pooing the Americans and acting like, oh, we're so bourgeois and they're so above us with their fancy French things. Both of us are brain dead. We had a lot of stuff we had to do this weekend.
They fancy French. Okay.
So it was nice to see them be the bad guys. Like it's very funny because I was perfectly fine with it just being regular old white settlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the choice to make it French, it was like we were able to make a movie about America during one of the times when American settlers were doing some of the most atrocious things, but we still managed to scapegoat it off on Europe by making it the French. So you know they're all going to die horribly at the hands of the Predator, and you're not disappointed by that. But let's go back to what we were talking about before with the no-name cast, almost all Native American Comanches.
Well, you also were asking me about the time. That's why I mentioned the French.
Well, you were kind of, I couldn't tell where you were going with it because when you said real, and then I got kind of thrown off. But so I was gonna say, I thought like the costuming and the setting for their like village, it all looked so authentic, and it felt like a lived-in place. I don't know. Sorry, I did not live in a native village in the 1700s, so they could be.
We can change that right now. I'll take you.
Oh yeah, will you?
Time.
But it all felt really authentic. But the one thing that was throwing me off, and I totally understand why they did it.
I already know what you're gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
Is that they all spoke English?
Yes, I would have loved for the movie to be fully subtitled and all spoken in Comanche.
I think I would have loved it as well. I think the thought of it, like having to watch a subtitle movie, because I don't always love that. But I have gotten more used to it just because of anime and whatnot.
Right.
And it's also an action movie. So yeah, I understand why they didn't do it, but I feel like it would have been so much more, it would have been so much cooler, and so much more realistic and way more fun, I feel like.
Yeah, and
accurate.
The script was written, and again, this is a Predator movie, and the director knows what his mission is here, so I don't have a problem with him making it as accessible as possible. But I did feel like not only did all the people have American accents, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any native accent or anything like that, which makes sense, right? Because it's supposed to be that we're listening to them speaking in their language to each other.
Yeah.
So I understand, but some of the modern slang and stuff that it felt like they were using, it was kind of jarring. And the fact that at the end of the day, their accents were American. I get the choice. You're not trying to other them by having it. It's not like when we talk to each other, we don't hear each other's accents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when they're talking to each other, they're not talking in a accent, and they're not sounding all halting like the stereotypes when they're trying to talk in English, and there's not a lot of the same idioms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was a part of my brain that was like, oh, I wish that they were saying like, big yellow ball come from sky, which would have been stupid. They shouldn't have done that. And I'm glad they didn't. But you know what I mean? Like when you're hearing indigenous people speak in English, you kind of just used to that. But the point wasn't supposed to be that they're speaking English. Does that make sense? Are you following me? It feels like you're
No.
It feels like you're so lost.
I was just lost for a moment.
Okay, tell me when you got found.
I got found earlier, and then I got lost.
So you weren't even listening to what we were saying.
No, I was found.
Okay, what are we talking about?
We were talking about them speaking English,
Okay.
and how jarring it was, and how how bizarre it was them using all these American idioms, even though that's just how we hear them, and they wanted it to sound.
Do you have anything to add to this conversation? I don't need you just to repeat myself
You
back to
asked me.
I don't need you to repeat
where I
myself
got
back.
found,
I want so just what were your thoughts on that? That's what I meant.
That's not what you said though, and I already said what you said. So
I don't. Nobody wants to listen to a podcast of you repeating back to me what I said.
I already said my opinions. I said my piece.
But you didn't say what you thought about how they spoke, because they didn't. They had American accents, and they talked very modernly. So everything looked like it was set in the 1700s. Everything about that was perfect. But
I want to know, because I can't think of all of the things, all the American stuff they said. Didn't you?
It wasn't just like American slang.
Like you said, I got this.
I got this was one of them, or something like that. At one point, she says, "Bring it home."
Well, that was like the whole movie, but I think they meant like that
was the whole movie. They said it once.
They said, "Bring it home" a ton.
Are you sure?
That's what he was saying the whole time. He was like, "Bring it home, bring it home."
About what?
Because he's bringing the Predator home. That's what I always thought it was. We're bringing the
The
What you
dead
hunted.
predator home, yeah.
Yeah.
But I only heard him say it once
Well, they said it a bunch.
about the predator.
Yes.
They never even had met the predator at that
They
point.
said it more than once.
Okay.
They said it like 3 times.
It wasn't just like slaying things like that. It wasn't like they were saying, hot diggity dog or anything like that. I'm talking about things like they would say things like, you know what I mean, or you know what I'm saying, which we Americans weren't talking like that in America in the 1700s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Nobody was talking like that. So when you combine the fact that they have American accents with the fact that they are using kind of modern language, I just found that really just jarring.
Yeah, I completely understand.
The only other negative thing that I have to say about the movie is the only place where I think the budget shows is that because of when it's set, there's a lot of animals in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and with that
Snakes,
budget and that
birds,
scale,
Squirrels.
and with the specific things and the types of animals that you need to have, all wild animals, they're having to CGI a lot of them, and it was pretty obvious, I thought.
I thought it was less obvious than you did. I thought there was like one scene with the snake,
Mm-hmm.
and the snake did not look particularly amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the bear looked good.
The bear looked good-ish, but he was
I thought it
fake.
looked better than the snake.
Well, yeah, the snake was the worst.
The dog was real, right?
Mostly, yes, but the wolf, I don't think was at all. There's a part where she also shoots like a heron or something, and that did not look real.
It's a bird, right?
Yeah, it's a bird.
Getting it confused with like a fish. Isn't there like a herring? It's a
Yep.
fish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
Yeah, remember when they shoot that bird? It's flying, has a fish in its mouth.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but it was fake.
Well, do you think they got a real bird and then
That's the thing.
put a real fish in his mouth and they flew around?
When it comes to animals, the suspension of disbelief bar is going to be so higher.
so
much higher, because we know what animals look like, and we know that they couldn't train an animal to do that. You know what I mean? So those two things make it to where the CGI has to be flawless.
like immaculate.
And this movie just did not have the budget.
What's funny is I feel like the Predator looked way more realistic.
The Predator is a practical suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then why don't they get like a drone and dress it up in a bird suit?
How are they going to make a mouse eat an ant and then a snake eat the mouse? How are they
Well,
going to make that happen?
I want you to answer my question about the bird.
They're not going to put a drone in a bird suit. That would look so dumb. How's it going to flap its little arms?
They'll
Also, you know how drones work? They have to like pull air from down and
but
push it.
it wouldn't be like
Wow, that was the worst description of a drone.
they gotta pull air from down and push.
All right, let's take another quick break, and when we get back, we'll do a final, final thoughts on the movie Prey. We only talked about some of the negative things, and they were not
doesn't-
all of them are negative.
That
But
doesn't mean like our opinions of the movie are negative. That's just there was so much greatness.
obviously, they're going to come back, and we're going to tell them. I'm just saying.
All right.
And then on our final score, because this is a new movie.
Yes.
Hi, this is Sarah,
And I'm Carter.
and this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and
vinyl.
So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Welcome to One Star Rewind. a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
Welcome back to the Kid Stays in the podcast and our discussion of the movie Prey. By the way, Prey is the newest Predator movie. I feel like we should have said that every single time, just because.
Yeah, like whenever you look
confusing.
up Predator, it says just like underneath it, Prey 2022.
Yeah. So yeah, we told you about some of the stuff that was kind of nitpicky. I think the CGI animals was a hold up, and then on second watching, I don't think I have any issue with the language part. But so I think I told you this, but I was originally told that they had actually shot the movie and they shot every scene in English and then also in Comanche, which they may have done. But when I was thinking about it, that doesn't mean that we're going to ever get to see a release the Comanche cut, because you'd have to edit the movie twice too. And you have to color grade it twice, and you have to score it twice, and you have to sound design it twice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's not going to happen. So what they did was they used the second takes as audio. Now, apparently some scenes they do have in Comanche, like where they're speaking it. But for the rest of the movie, you can watch it in a Comanche dub. Now, I don't like dubs, but I think it's all the original actors.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I could probably get into that. It might be okay. I want to try it. See.
I'm down to try it. I'm down to try new things.
But yeah, so
Experimental.
they did record all the dialogue with the original actors in Comanche, so you can watch it, but their lips are still going to be mouthing in English,
Which is kind of, that might bother me though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be very odd.
So anyway, yeah, so let's get down to like what a Predator movie is all about, which is a predator hunting and stalking its prey, and
which is
murdering a bunch of people.
The strongest predator.
Yeah.
There.
So how do you think it nailed the actual job of being a Predator movie?
I feel like it was done perfectly.
Perfectly. High praise.
No, I think like I don't have a whole lot to compare it to. But I just felt like this movie did exactly, like I felt like I didn't need to see the other ones. I saw exactly what the Predator does, and I can go back and I'll know what the Predator does, because it still introduced me to how he works. He doesn't kill things that are
not a threat.
That are not a threat or helpless, and he's very obviously hunting the strongest life form. So bears, and something really cool which I loved was he like adapted to whatever technology they were using. So, bears, he just fought bare hands.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And then like the Comanche, they were using bows, so he had like little arrow bolts that would be shot.
Yeah, so I got in an argument about this with somebody. It's a dumb thing to get an argument about, but they were arguing that it wasn't that he was trying to use the same things that they were using. It was just supposed to be that he had older technology.
He had older technology?
Yeah, because it's 300 years before the first movie, at least. So they were just saying the technology's 300 years older. That's why he was shooting bolts. Because that laser beam, the three, whatever, triangle laser beam thing, normally shoots like a big giant laser blast, that, like blows your arm off. This time it shot like 3 different like guided metal bolts. But quite honestly, that technology doesn't seem older.
Yeah.
So I was arguing what you're saying, that he was trying to only use the weapons that the people were using against him.
And that still seems right to me. Like, and like even for whenever he fought the wolf, he got like scratched. So then I feel like he used his like claw arm thing.
Yeah, he used the claw whenever he fought anything with claws, but he never used. I never saw him shoot any animals.
He did it with the snake also,
and the bear.
He didn't use the claw with the bear. He just used his fists, I thought.
No, he used his claw to cut the bear's stomach open, and then he holds it over his head and pours all of its blood down on himself.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, I thought that was just really cool. So you really got a sense of how the Predator worked, and you kept learning more and more about him as the movie went on, and then there was very like a clear way to kill it, or you could figure out weaknesses and whatnot.
Right.
Which I just feel like they nailed Predator. Everything about it was so much fun.
It was violent in a fun
really
way.
Violent, yep.
Really cool Predator deaths.
Classic.
Or Predator kills.
Classic head, spine, rip.
Yep. All of those things.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give short shift to the characters either, because while they're not the deepest characters in the world, I thought that Naru and her brother, what was his name?
Beavers, Dakota Beavers.
Tabe.
That's his brother?
Yeah.
Her brother?
Yeah.
Then who's Dakota Beavers?
Her brother. Tabe.
Oh, that's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
His character name.
Yeah. Amber Mid-Thunder, I think she's going to be going places. I thought she was really good in the Arnold role. But what I really love about this movie is it was grounded in its own reality without acting like you needed to make everything as realistic as possible. You know what I mean? Like the part I was talking about earlier where it's a good example of the movie. It's right on the nose about what this movie's going to be about and what you're going to see, which is the chains of predators. You know what I mean?
I really like this.
So it was like so on the nose of, they show, and it's, by the way, this is happening on the literal predator's like foot.
Yeah.
Like an ant is crawling up his foot, a mouse jumps up and eats the ant, then a snake eats the mouse, then the predator kills the snake.
Yeah.
Like he's so far, like it's could not be more on the nose about the food chain and the circle of life and who's in charge.
Yeah.
But that's perfect.
And it was like the movie's called Prey / Predator, so.
Yeah. Like the movie knows what it's supposed to be, it knows what its tone is, so it works inside of that reality. But it just felt like a classic 90s action adventure movie,
Yeah.
Like she falls in quicksand at one point, like the kind of muddy quicksand that you used to see all the time in like old serials or like a
Indiana Jones
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no muddy quicksand like that in like the Rocky Mountains, as far as I know. And there's jokes go all around the internet now about how kids from the 80s, they always thought quicksand was going to be their biggest problem.
Yeah,
and
there's a whole John Mulaney bit about it.
Yeah, and you never run into it. But I loved that. You know what I mean? It actually felt like it'd been so long since we've seen that.
Like that. Yeah.
And she makes like a tomahawk that she like ties a rope to, and she makes like a super weapon that wouldn't really work. You know what I mean?
I don't understand how she mastered that weapon.
Yeah, it's just because of movie magic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But the cast, for the most part, did a great job. Like, the two main characters get fleshed out the most. The other folks just get to basically be sexist little boys. They're all like 17-year-old sexists that think girls shouldn't be allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
And in the native like leadership, we don't really see them because we don't spend very much time at the village. Just enough to give it the setting. But that's not what we came to the movie to see. We came to the movie to see the Predator kill a bunch of people and then eventually, get taken on by a human who figured out how to exploit him.
Yes. And they did different stuff because isn't in the first movie like Arnold, you said like gets in mud and they can't see them no more.
Yeah, they use mud to defeat the Predator in this movie as well, but in a much different way.
Yeah. In this, the way she prevents the Predator from seeing her is it's like this weird like herb that we were introduced to where it like slows down your blood flow.
Right.
Or like it like makes you really cold, which slows down your blood flow so you lose less blood.
You did it in reverse. You had it right the first time. It slows your heartbeat down so you appear really cold.
That doesn't sound right.
It is right. 100% right. There's no such thing as an herb that makes you cold.
Well, yeah, but I thought I don't know. It said something about like freezing you, I thought.
No, yes, because your heart rate goes down, so the people feel cold.
I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like their new way of exploiting it.
Yeah, and I was trying to tell you that it's there's a movie about it, but I'm pretty sure they took it from this. It was like, I think it's considered the first zombie movie ever, and it's from, I thought it was in Haiti, and it's a true story. True story.
It's like Master Oogway.
They gave this guy this thing so he could fake that he was dead to like get out of debts, or maybe he's cheating on somebody's wife. Who knows? I can't remember.
Like Romeo and Juliet.
But it just slows his heart rate down so much and his breathing so shallow that you can't tell.
Yeah, like Romeo and Juliet.
That's what happens in there.
Yeah, Juliet takes like this potion so she can fake her death and go be with Romeo, and then Romeo goes in there
thinks
and
he's dead, and then kills himself.
and then Juliet kills herself afterwards.
Yeah.
See, I know about literature.
Yeah, they bury them in the ground, and then the guy like gets out, and then he thought he was a zombie because he thought he was dead. Yeah,
Very cool.
it was basically like that. Anyway, I don't really have anything else. I mean, I highly recommend go out and watch this movie. It's on Hulu. If you don't have Hulu, it is worth getting that little subscription, even if it's just for a month. Check out anything else that you want on there. You can watch the Bob's Burger movie, catch up on all the seasons of Bob's Burger.
Please, Hulu, sponsor us immediately.
But yeah, definitely watch Praise. If you're a Predator fan, absolutely watch it. If this is the first foray into it, definitely still watch it. I'm just gonna say definitely a lot.
Just go for it, man. It's a great watch. It's a great Predator movie.
Yeah, and now when you go back eventually and watch the original movie, it'll just feel like it's the sequel.
Yeah, except for just doesn't look as good.
How dare you? You don't know how good it looks or doesn't look.
I assume because it's old.
It's not. It is old.
It's not.
Let's just say it's not that old. So what would you rate this movie?
I think for a Predator movie, I'll give it like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna rate it as a Predator movie as well.
But if it wasn't for Predator movie, just because of CGI issues and the language, maybe like an 8 or 7 or 8, 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
Predator killing praise.
I'm gonna say it's a Predator movie. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 4. I was gonna say CGI snakes, but apparently we're not doing any arbitrary ratings anywhere. You did? What'd you say?
Yeah, I said predators eating praise.
Oh. Yeah, so I'd give it 3.5 out of 4. And as just a regular movie, I'm not gonna do that other one. I'm not gonna give it another rating.
Well,
because I do believe in rating things inside of their genre. And so if you're the dumbass that's coming into my house and saying, I don't want you to compare it to another Predator movie, I want to know what it's like next to Schindler's List.
Yeah, that's not obviously what I was going for.
I know. I wasn't saying that you were.
I was just like comparing it to
dumb A, but
I'm just comparing it to like other action movies, I guess.
Well, look, we are just about out of time. We did make it a short episode. That was on purpose to give you time to go watch the movie. So
Yes.
Until next time,
We love you. Goodbye.
bye-bye.
Follow us on Instagram at The Kid and the Pig and on RogueMediaNetwork.com.
Until next time.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.